example, Oyo State is budgeting 63 billion to renovate government house. Osun State is trying to renovate the government house in Osun too. So then you wonder how the governors, they have this kind of effrontery with the level of poverty to come out to say, I want to spend 63 billion of your tax money, of your sweat, to build not even build, to renovate a befitting place for the number one family, just one family. So I feel like the people they don't realize how much power they have, because it takes a lot of effrontery for somebody to look you in the face when you can barely have good meal a day to say, I want to spend 63 billion.
This is suit business landscape. State governments, state governors, they've squandered a whole lot of record FAAC inflows as poverty still deepens nationwide, despite receiving a record 33.27 trillion from Federal Account Allocation Committee between January and November 2025. State governments continue to channel funds into politically visible projects with limited impact on living standard. Now, the spending pattern persists even though millions of Nigerians remain trapped in abject poverty and multidimensional poverty, to be precise. In 2024, states received about 25.46 trillion in total FAAC disbursement. Now, a level analysts are also saying was sufficient to significantly reduce poverty if deployed towards health, education, and agriculture, and social protection. Now, instead, budget execution across many states prioritized capital projects with very weak link to job creation and household welfare. Now, data from the National Bureau of Statistics show that total FAAC disbursement in January to November 2025 period exceeded the 28.6 trillion shared in the entire 2024 fiscal year, with multidimensional poverty estimated at 63%. And economists are warning that the rising allocation without governance perform risk deepening inequality and public frustration. You can hear it wherever you are, in buses, on the streets, in the market. We ask ourselves, what exactly have states done with this lot of monies they've collected directly from Abuja? I mean, let's start with you. Can we say that those that are looking at building legacy projects are building projects that are not directly affecting the pocket and livelihood of the people in their states, if any of them is doing that in the first place?
Two things. Number one, I feel like most of the governors in Nigeria, they are far away from their people. They don't understand the problems of their people. So I see governance for the elites. In Nigeria, the elites have realized their power and they are benefiting from the negotiation they are making with their power now. So if you look at across the states now, is 60, 100 SUVs, either for the monarchs, for the traditional rulers, or for local government chairman, or for commissioners. These are all elites. These are people that can take care of themselves. But the governor is giving them their own dividend of democracy, because the elite, like I said, they've realized their power and they are using it. If the governor is not serving them, they gang up against the governor and they remove him, like what we saw in Kwara State some time ago. Otoge, we saw the movement in Osun State where Aregbesola gang up with some of his people against Oyetola. So that is why we see governors pandering to the elites. Then beyond that, some of the projects are elite kind of projects, because I don't believe subnational, and evidence has shown that governors across the country, they don't seem to understand what the problem of their people is, and they are doing projects that is good for the headlines and does not necessarily translate anything for their citizens. So the people needs to wake up. People needs to realize their power. Somebody said something that if something is not valuable, will it be paid for? Will money be exchanged for it? That goes to say, if politicians every 4 years, they come to try to buy the vote of the regular people, it means their vote is worth something. It means they have power. So they need to come together to articulate their problems and put people that can represent their interests and fix their problem. But we've seen tremendous increase in FAAC allocation going to the states, but we have nothing or little to show for it. We can move to how much, for example, Oyo State is budgeting 63 billion to renovate government house. Osun State is trying to renovate the government house in Osun too. So then you wonder how the governors, they have this kind of effrontery with the level of poverty to come out to say, I want to spend 63 billion of your tax money, of your sweat, to build not even build, to renovate a befitting place for the number one family, just one family. So I feel like the people they don't realize how much power they have, because it takes a lot of effrontery for somebody to look you in the face when you can barely have good meal a day to say, I want to spend 63 billion. Then you now look at how many children 63 billion can put in school with 2 meals, at least breakfast and lunch, before they go back to their own. You look at how many adults 63 billion can give good training. Is it ICT training or even learning of skill acquisition? How many people 63 billion can give good skill acquisition? And health, how many people 63 billion can give good health insurance that can take care of them for the whole year? Then you ask yourself, these are the basic necessity of our people: education, housing, food, and health. So if you have not done any of this adequately, I dare say there's no state in Nigeria that has adequate education for its people, adequate housing for its people, adequate health solution for its people, adequate even security. Then you come out to say, I want to spend 63 billion to just fix a place for the first family. So we need to wake up as a people. The elites, they've woke up, and we can see that the governors across Nigeria, they are giving them their own share of the allocation. But the regular people are not being taken care of, because the elites will go to their villages and say, oh, vote for this person, is good for us. But what they are saying is, this person is good to me, vote, and they are delivering, and people are blindly delivering. So people need to wake up and start advocating and start demanding better and stop enjoying being disrespected. Because a governor coming out in Nigeria of today saying, I want to spend 63 billion to renovate a government house, or I want to spend 10 billion, 15 billion to buy cars for the traditional rulers, is a slap on the people.
Okay. The 63 billion was well enumerated, and you kept hitting at it. 63 billion. But I think it started from the top. It started from the federal government. We did the vice president's, if you remember, the vice president's residence was also renovated, or was it built? With how much? Then we also saw the cars that went to the National Assembly and co. So maybe the subnationals are also replicating what they saw up there. Okay. Now let's look at numbers. 33.27 trillion between January to November 2025. Compared to 64% multi-dimensional poverty in the land. How can you justify it? How can you, as in your head, is there a way you can justify this?
So I mean, I've said everything that needs to be said. You can now tell that we don't have a revenue problem in Nigeria. We know how to tap monies out of systems, from institutions, from people. We just have a spending issue. Everyone wants to spend money and be tagged that this is what you spent money on. Again, leadership issues, efficiency is lacking. When you look at the percentage, like you mentioned, of poverty still growing, then you realize that the money that is being spent in government actually does not even affect the common man. You buy SUVs for the monarchs. How does that affect the common man? The king driving a G-Wagon or a Bentley on roads that are not tarred, on in an environment where it's not safe, just because you need the young children or the children, adults to be waving at you and saying, oh, the king is coming or the governor is coming. Come on, we need to move past this. We need to get to a system where people can walk on the road, going to school, they're safe. They have water that is clean, electricity functional, food is safe enough for people to buy. If you look at what NAFDAC has been rolling out, like information now and then, every now and then, telling people, oh, there are fake products out there, this and that. That's a result of a poor economy. Because if you put in this money that's been spent ridiculously on things that don't affect the public at large, if you put them into the system, you'd see that there's going to be a change of mind. And that's where we have a problem. We just want to collect. The government just wants to collect money from people, but you don't necessarily look at how you get closer to the common man. And I always use the example every now and then. You see that a new government comes in, the abandoned projects that have been done by other leaders. Why? Because they're not creative. They don't think deeply to see that they can reinvent, the project that the last past government has put in place and make money out of it. Rather, they want to start afresh. You have houses that are just spread across the country. No one is living in there. No one is staying there. It's not being kept. It's not being well kept. And yet they're talking about house deficits. What happened to those houses? Why can't you reinvent or revive the living condition of those houses and give them out? You just want to start building. You want to start from scratch, buying iron, cement, blocks, because of course we know what happens when you have that project. The monies are coming. So we spend a lot of money. We don't have a problem with generating funds anymore. We've gone past that. So Nigeria is rich. You can argue that anytime. We can go.
Nigeria is not rich, but two things can be right.
Okay.
Our resources is being mismanaged.
Definitely.
Right? But it does not change the fact that we are a poor country. You can be poor and still be reckless. That is the situation that's
where we find ourselves.
That's where we find ourselves. And as state governments, the crop of governors that we have not realized the power that they have as a country. I give an example. California state in the US has a GDP of 4.1 trillion. That put them in the fourth biggest economy in the world if they were a country. So they are able to build their economy so big that they are even bigger than so many the economies in the world that put them even ahead of Japan, with all the Japanese cars and all the inventions that is coming out of Japan. So state government can do that, can go beyond just waiting for FAAC allocation. The only state that we see that is crawling in that direction is Lagos State. So what happened to River States? What happened to Cross River States? You can see how big Texas economy is. Is in about 2 or 3 trillion US dollars because they have oil and there are so many oil companies there. So there are so many economy around the oil company. What do we see in the Niger Delta area in Nigeria? Every year, every government is politicians fighting themselves, distracting themselves from governors. Discouraging investment to come, because investors will say, okay, if I sign a contract with this government of the day, what happens if another government comes? There's no continuation in their policies. Amechi started the monorail. River State was going to be the first state with a monorail project in this country. Yeson Wike came for 8 years, abandoned the project. Similarly, Fubara is completing his first term now. The project is still lying there, and the citizens are looting
the materials
and selling it for scrap metal. That is tax money being wasted. Do people need the monorail transport? Yes, they do need it. But governors, like I said, they care about the headlines. And that is why we have so many housing projects with nobody living there. Because for the governors, the project starts from the headline, laying of blocks, and hence when they cut the ribbon, they don't care if people actually live in those houses, as long as there's photo ops that can make the national news that we cut the ribbon that we delivered on this project. And, whether they get kickbacks or whether the project is executed by their cronies, that's another subject. But what we've seen consistently is that governors only care about the headlines to say, oh, during my time, I constructed 150 road network or 1,000 kilometer roads. During my time, I constructed 50 schools in the rural areas. So whether there are teachers in the rural areas, whether there are kids going to the rural areas, they don't care about that. They just want to brag with photo ops and say, okay, go and Google. Is in the headline, I did this. So we are not really touching the lives of our people. We are not really meeting them at the point of their needs, and we are not elevating them. And part of the problem is even the revenue problem. Government is not simply to have 100 naira and spend 100 naira. Government is, how can this 100 naira become 1,000? They are supposed to be catalysts for development, for economic development and infrastructural development. It's not every road that I expect the government to build from their infrastructure, but there's a way that you can catalyze people coming to build your road for you. We've seen that with Lagos-Calabar Expressway. There are so many international companies that want to fund the road now and toll because they've seen the potential. So it takes the government to show them, to say, okay, this is our vision. This is what we are trying to do. And it's possible. And people are now saying, oh, we are ready to take over this investment and put our money. Now government can now deploy the same money they spent on that project on something else. So that's the way government is supposed to be thinking. And there are so many things that you can do. Okay, look at Lekki, for example. The government only built phase 1, maybe phase 2. Now the road is almost reaching Epe, which is about 2-hour journey. The entire stretch is built by the private sector, but the government only catalyzed that development. There is a big mall, one of the biggest in the entire country on that stretch, around Songotedo. There are so many developments coming on. There is a golf course. There are so many things on that stretch. Was it built by government? No. Is it development for the people? Does it benefit the community? Yes. But what has government done? Government just invests in the phase 1 and the phase 2. They catalyze. That's what government is supposed to be doing.
Okay. Now, if you look at the Lekki side of it, yes, not everyone can still afford it, but it's all good. Now, let's come down to this same numbers, 33.327 trillion disbursed in 2025. To put people out of poverty is to get them productive.
Exactly.
Education, at least make sure they have access to some form of health insurance or access to primary health, but majorly their productivity. We see government after government, state governors after state governors. All what they have to show, just like Ami will say, is I built this amount of roads that after 6-3, if they even last 6 months, that's a plus. Most don't even last 2 months. Should we be looking more at human capital development, or looking more at what can I get my people to produce, to put food on their table, and also maybe get some major facilities where people can work? Should that be more of a focus? Because if you look at Asia, that is the major thing Asia is pushing. If you don't have a job in some Asian countries, it looks like you are a failure. And they take that to heart. What should we start changing now?
So I don't think human capital, investment has always been a problem in Nigeria. If you look at what other countries or your entire synopsis around the whole Japa migration and all that, you see a lot of people coming into Nigeria to take us out in the medical space, even lawyers and the rest, and even engineers, down to the handwork and all of that. Because we are skilled people, and that's one of the reasons why I was saying when it comes to richness, we actually have that wealth of skill, wealth. We push. We're very resilient people. So in that area, it's natural. It's an inborn gift to Nigerians. Now, for the government, it is very important that you create, a working environment for Nigerians. You have to think creatively, because you cannot say. And every time I use the example every now and then. Look at the rail system, for example, the transportation system. We clamor every now and then. There are no jobs, but I can tell you that you can bring out 1,000 jobs just within the Lagos railing system. There are different areas of the rail system that you can tap to create jobs. Why are they not thinking about this? Because, again, we are just focused on infrastructure. That's the biggest, I feel like that's the biggest cash out for most of our government leaders. Everyone does it. Like I mean, was saying, you do a road, really, let's say from Lagos to Ogun State. Ordinarily, it's common sense. You continue it. The next government, try and finish it up to the next and to the next. No, they'll leave it and go and start afresh, forgetting that it does not affect. When you drive through for 30 minutes, you go to the bad road, you start cursing them again. So we need to focus on job creation. It's very important. Once you create, and the only way you can focus on job creation is first secure power. We struggle. We still had the grid falling down some days ago. We don't know if it is being revived. Every now and then the grid has fallen. Every now and then we don't have light. You cannot have a working system, a proper system, a productive system if you don't have light. It sounds really small, but this is what light is life. If we're going to make it philosophical, light is life. When people have light, they become productive naturally. Because if you look at like for example, people that make handbags, people that make shoes, the craft guys, the people that produce water and everything, they need light. Of course, at an affordable, reasonable price, to be able to produce certain things, to be able to teach other people that are coming to learn. One time, I had there was this neighbor of mine that was looking for what to do, and I advised him to go down to the salon to learn how to cut hair. And he got there, and what the owner of the place was like, we've not had light in some weeks, so it's going to cost me more money to run my generator to teach you. So that means that guy, for example, now goes back home to go and sit down. So we need the government to start looking at these simple areas that they can manage to make people very productive. And then, of course, let them go to the big one, security. It's very important. A lot of people need to, Lagos is so, packed up because people have to move. People have to migrate from different states because of security issues. But there are other states that, I think on this table one time we mentioned focusing some agricultural sectors to different areas or industrial to different states. For example, Lagos, manpower. We have other states that focus on agriculture. There are people that can travel away from Lagos, away from Ogun State to other states to learn if the environment is safe and safe enough for people to move. So these are the areas where the government needs to look into. If we're talking about development, we're talking about curbing the act of poverty, because you can't just wake up in the morning and say everybody has to be in Lagos. Even Lagos itself is struggling to manage the numbers of people currently living in Lagos. There are jobs, but the number of people, that's why you go to Lekki, Surulere axis, you see a lot of beggars, a lot of people that are displaced because there are no jobs. And even when the jobs are there, the people don't have power to carry out these jobs and train people. The environment is not safe enough for people to say, okay, they want to move to this place to go and do a job. If you want to travel now in Lagos, your family members will tell you, oh, you're traveling out of Lagos, we don't have ransom. So these are funny situations, but in the real sense, it affects development.